Hi guys, welcome back to Victory Gardens by Rain. I'm Rain and I am here today and we're going to talk about high intensity gardening. And what exactly does that mean? Well, what it means is that with high intensity gardening, you essentially take suggested plant spacing and throw it out the window. Behind me, this bed right here, not this one, but the next bed right there, I have planted with broccoli rabe, cabbage, onions, violas, some alyssum, and carrots that's going in that bed. And that bed is a 2-foot by 8-foot bed, and I am very excited about the amount that it's producing. So I wanted to share with you kind of my practice on high intensity planting, and it's how I personally get as much harvest from the square footage that I have to steward as I possibly can. So high intensity planting or companion planting, or whatever you want to call it, it just really just means that you are taking into account the full size of the plant that you're putting in the space, and you're staggering the planting times in such a way that they can communicate with each other. So what do I mean by communicate with each other? Well, really what I mean is having roots in the ground of any soil is going to be your best defense with building a good microbiology community within the soil. So that's one point that I want to make. The second thing is in communication, I mean that the plant spacing will take into account of the actual topical square space of the bed, and also the air space of the bed, meaning how tall it's going to grow, how wide it's going to grow, how much it's going to fall out of the bed. Like you see right here, the broccoli rabe is kind of leaning this way and the cabbage is kind of leaning that way, mostly because the sun goes like this. But they're creating their own space that isn't exactly, or it's not limited by just the square space that is the soil. You see what I'm saying? So right here, I'm gonna come right here and show you. So these are purple cauliflowers. Cauliflowers? I don't know. How do you say that purely? Lord have mercy. I cannot talk today. Y'all just bear with me. I'm having a slow brain fog day. I just totally busted it a second ago. But what I've already planted in this bed right here is the purple cauliflower that I had found after my greenhouse took a dive. And I'm not sure if they're going to be scented or not. I'm not really sure what's going on. They're very small, but when I planted these in this space, they were teeny tiny and very purple and very nutrient deficient. So I'm already kind of starting off with that. But anyway, what I'm trying to share here is the cauliflower. The cauliflower is a big plant as a full-grown plant, but because of the way I planted them, the ones in the middle are going to take up this space. The ones on the edge are going to fall over and take up this space, and the ones on the outer edge are going to fall over and take up that space outside of the bed. Like the root stock is going to be in the soil, and my soil sank a little bit in this bed. This was one of the first beds that we built. But anyway, and then in the corners, I planted a petunia because you need something pretty. And then in that corner, there's a petunia. In this corner, I had two sweet little boys come over. My friend Emily, her sons. I gave them a pack of seeds and I was like, go put them wherever you want. And it's nasturtium, so they just kind of fall out of anywhere. And so the kids had fun planting them, and hiding them from me so that when it pops out, I'm surprised where they are. Which, if you guys have kids that come to your garden, I highly suggest you doing that, because it brings absolute delight to the babies when they come over, because they remember where they planted the seed. And when something's growing in that spot, it makes them have a little bit of ownership of the space, and they're in touch with creation. And I think that is just such a sweet thing. So that's what's in that corner right there. You see those little leaves popping up. My daughter put in the tulip spinner. It's a little spinner. And then the rest of these are the purple cauliflower. Well, that takes care of the square space going this way. So, but I have plenty of air space, and I have plenty of soil, and my soil is very nutrient dense. And so that helps a lot. But I will go on a side note here, and I will say that when you choose to plant high intensity, or if you choose to companion plant, and you're kind of crowding in your space with as much plants as you can, you understand that you will need to fertilize probably double, maybe even triple of what you usually have to do when you are using suggested plant spacing. Because like this is a brassica, these cauliflower right here, they're very, very, very heavy feeders. Well, I have right here little tomato babies that I'm going to be planting. And all of these varieties are indeterminate, and we'll go over that in just a second, which an indeterminate tomato means that it's going to continue to grow until either disease or temperature affects the growth pattern. And so I chose the indeterminate tomatoes because I'm going to have a trellis put here, the cattle panel trellis, and they're going to grow up the trellis like this and then spread sideways. So they actually take up like a tomato stem worth of soil space, but growing up vertically, they take no space at all in my garden. So, but they're also high feeders. So with it being high feeders, I know as the steward of this garden that I'm going to need to make sure I have fertilization practices in place. And I plan on doing, today I'm going to plant in each hole and probably a little bit over the top of these plants. I'm going to plant this Biotone starter fertilizer. Huge fan of it. I'm not sponsored by them, although if they want to, I'm totally here for it. But I genuinely like this Biotone product because it introduces mycorrhizae and it gives the roots a great communication start with the soil. So the nutrients that are sitting dormant in the soil get a boost, or they get the fungi is developed in such a way that they can communicate with the plants at an easier rate, like a faster rate, if that makes any sense. If you have questions, maybe I'll just post them down below and I'll go over it a little bit better. But I'm gonna put it back on the stand right here. Bear with me. Nope. Okay. This is, I'm having a hard time figuring out my angles here because I want you to see the bed as I'm talking. So there we go. All right. So anyway, you see this entire bed is full of these cauliflower. I planted some marigolds in there that I bought just because I wanted some color, but they did not transplant very well. So, you know, oh well. That's the whole philosophy behind high intensity planting or companion planting or whatever. If you just plant a lot in there, no one knows when they die. So there's your pro tip for the day. But I also in here, I have seeds for some carrots that I planted, because when you have a plant, okay, you have the airspace, this topical soil space, and then you have the root space. So in this bed, it's just like this container. So we have all this room up here We've got however much room we want to allot for the stem or the stalk of the root. And then we have all this space under here that we could be using, as long as these plants get what they need. You know, the amount of sunlight that they need, the amount of water, you know, those things you take into account. And so I have a few little carrots popping up, but I don't have a lot. It was a very old seed packet. So I'm just gonna kind of let them do their thing as they want to. And also, we haven't got mulch on this soil, so they may not have germinated correctly because it's drying out pretty fast because we are in a lot of sun here. And also, I'll bring you up for a close-up, but I have little sunflowers sprouting here too. So we'll have sunflowers growing in between the tomatoes. So, let's see, did I cover everything? Oh, mulch, obviously. Let's do that. Let's talk about that. When you're planting high intensity, and you're taking up a lot of, you're just kind of slamming the ground and you're asking a lot out of the soil, it is super important to keep up the microbiology that's in the soil, like the mycorrhizae bacteria, the life that's in the soil, all the millions and billions of different things, bacterias and things that you need in there to have a healthy soil. And the worst possible thing that you can do is to leave your soil uncovered, like I did here. Like, I don't know if you could hear, it's hard. So, and this is really great soil. Like, this is very, very good compost. It's high nutrient, but because I left it uncovered, and it dried out, because like I said, we're baking in the sun, it's going to create a hydrophobic environment, and that's not great for your soil. So I actually, believe it or not, I ran out of leaves. So I am going to go to my local hardware store, Ace is the place, and I'm going to pick up some wheat straw to put over here. And so that way my soil is covered. I'm gonna eventually do an experiment with live mulch, as you know, under planting some of these things, but I haven't quite got that planned out or kind of noodled around in my brain yet. So right now I'm just going to use wheat straw until I can harvest some more leaves, because you need to have your soil covered. You just need to. It's going to help with the evaporation of water, because you know, I live in Georgia and the air is so humid. I mean, it's nothing but water. And then with the sun drying out the soil, it keeps the life at bay. It doesn't, like I said, the microbiology can't survive in that type. They need moist soil. Seeds do not germinate readily in dried out soil. If you're having trouble with seed germination, check that out. Maybe you need to mulch. And basically, it cools the soil down too. So right now what I'm doing is I have brassicas in here, the cauliflower, and then I'm also planting the tomatoes. So the tomatoes like some warmth, but they like for their roots to be on the cooler side of warm, you know. And if it's mulched, then the soil stays a consistent temperature, and so it's not fluctuating from a hot soil to a cool soil when you water it, you know. And so that keeps the root system happy and not going through a roller coaster of temperatures in the soil. Having a consistent soil temperature is very important, and you need to think about that if you're going to be demanding so much from your soil by doing high intensity planting. Now, I will come back later today, and after I've planted all of this and after we've had our conversation, and I will water this soil with some fish emulsion, the fish fertilizer. That's the Espoma, Garden Tone, Biotone, and I think it's Alaska fish emulsion is literally the only thing that I use in my garden outside of compost. to fertilize, but you have to keep the nutrients available for this process to work for you. So it's a little bit more, when you plant this way, it's a little bit more forethought that goes into the care, but interplanting things like this helps so much with stewarding your space. I tend to lean on the square foot spacing in this type of thing. I don't square foot garden, but the spacing requirements, you know. And I tend to completely lose my train of thought. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is the routine of fertilizing is important when you plant this way. So you have the liquid nutrients available, because if you are building the microbiology in the soil, it's harder to for the plants to get and fight for nutrients. And so that's why I do I do compost, a very, very high nutrient dense soil. That's super important. And then granular fertilizer for long, slow release. And then the fish emulsion is kind of like a quick shot of fertilizer. You want to do fish emulsion about once a week. The granular you can do maybe twice a month if you want to do that, depending. Your plants will tell you when they're hungry. They'll tell you when they're not getting nutrients. Like my cauliflower here, they told me very quickly that they were sad when I had them planted in some very bad soil, and they were purple, and you know, they may be purple cauliflower, but the leaves are supposed to be green. So I knew I knew immediately that they needed nutrition. So I hope that clears things up for high intensity planting, and I really encourage you to give it a try. Even if you're not in a raised bed, high intensity planting in ground is very, very beneficial. And the pest control that comes with doing planting like this is phenomenal, because when you're doing organic gardening, essentially the goal is not to have to use any products. Like, I don't use even organic pest control products in my garden, because I figure if your plant is healthy, they won't put off a hormone that attracts the pest, for one. So I try to start from the soil up and make sure that I'm giving them the best possible start. And then when a pest is looking for a tomato, but it smells cauliflower and sunflower and nasturtium and petunias, and carrots, it's going to be harder for them to find the scent, because that's how pests find plants, is through the scent. It's going to be harder for them to be able to find that plant and attack that plant if they have to navigate through, and they're not going to do that. Like, pests are lazy. You know, if you give them a obstacle to get to what they want, they're just gonna go on to the next place that isn't quite so hard. You know, like if you have ants in your garden, if you keep messing with them, they'll move. You know, like, so you don't have to treat the ants. If you have tomato hornworms in your garden, plant some other things around it and they'll go. But also, like for me, we're building an ecosystem here. So my goal is not to build a monoculture of vegetables. My goal here, my heart here, is to build an ecosystem so that my garden works for me and not me working for the garden, because that's not how God intended it to be. So when all of these things are working interchangeably, like it interlinking themselves, it makes for a better environment for these plants to thrive in. So when I'm planting these things, I'm keeping in mind I'm going to be harvesting these brassicas, these cauliflowers, in about 30, well, probably 50 days or so from now, and in the name of Jesus. And once that happens, I still have a whole season. Like these tomato plants will last me all summer, so that only takes up the back wall here, so I can continuously plant this garden as I amend it. And so then the pests are even more confused because it's all changing and it's all intermixing, and I always have something else to plug in here, if that makes any sense. Again, comment below if you have any questions on that. I feel like I'm kind of rushing through, but it's only because it's not as complicated as a lot of the information that's online puts it out there. Communion planting, high intensity planting, all of that just strictly means that you're trying to plant in such a way that your plants can thrive. And if you take into account the top space, the surface area, that's what I was trying to say earlier, surface area, and then the root space, like they can go with each other and cycle through their life cycle. So, that's what I was going to say. Like these cauliflower is going to be, 50 days from now. And so I have a 220 plus odd day growing season, which I grow food all year round, but for the summer garden. So these guys, when it's time for me to harvest this, I've got 3, 4, depending on what I plant, maybe 5 succession sowings of things that can go through this soil. So it constantly has life growing in it, and it constantly has roots working in communication with the soil and the microbiology that's in the soil and the bacteria and the different things that are going on. And so doing that is helping your soil. And I have the sunflowers here, and they're actually going to be they clean the soil, they work for me. So I think about things like that. There's a lot of information that I just spit out you guys, but I just really just want you guys to take this video and go and just give you permission to go out and plant as freely as you wish. So today I'm going to plant these tomatoes in here, and I'm just going to put them right where I have them placed. And my husband's going to come back behind me, and we're going to come down this front row of the garden and put the trellising up with the cattle panels. And I'll do a video of that as well. But that's the only next step that I'm going to do today outside of mulching this bed, because, these guys have time to grow. Now, I could take and go even more a step further and put some radishes maybe, and they'll come to fruition from start to finish in like 28 days, and I could fill this space up. I could overseed like some kale or some quick germinating things like that, and do microgreens under this while it's in the process of growing and getting larger. And that's a possibility. I may do that. That's a live mulch. But the point is to fertilize accordingly. Think about how much food or how much nutrients are being taken up by these plants and how close they're being taken together. But also think about the full size of the plant. And then once you have that picture in your head, so a tomato gets, for video's sake, this big, and then a cauliflower is only like that tall, and then the carrot will be like middle size, so it'd be tomato, carrot. I don't know, these cauliflowers are going to probably be ginormous. But the spacing, so you want to kind of do it like a big, middle, low, and then a fallout. Like I could even take, and along the front side of his plant, some sort of sprawling pumpkin or squash or something, because it only takes like this amount of soil and no surface area, So just think about how the full maturity of a plant is and the time that you have to plant them, and kind of put that in a staggered order, if that makes any sense. So anyway, that's what I'm doing today. And so if y'all have any questions, just comment down below. Thank you so much for spending your time with me out here in the garden. And I'm gonna get to planting these. All right, so here's a close-up of the bed. So this is a cauliflower, which these are planted close together, but we'll see how they grow. This is a little sunflower seed germinating. Happy birthday. And then this is my petunia. And then I just planted the tomato. And so I have very sporadic germination on the carrots. There's another one. And there's another seedling that I accidentally dug up. So please grow in the name of Jesus. And these are all cauliflower. No, these are not cauliflower. These are Brunswick cabbage. I'm sorry. I just remembered that. And this is cauliflower. These ones are cauliflower. That is Brunswick cabbage. And then here's a Hattie's Heritage tomato, a Woods Famous tomato. This is a white cherry. This is the tomato. And this is the black cherry, which is my daughter's favorite. And there's another petunia, and then these are the nasturtiums, which these are edible flowers, and the leaves are edible too. So that's the bed. And this is the close-up of the other bed that I was talking about for reference. And there's the bed we were just working on. And then here is this bed where you can see the onions are growing. This is broccoli rabe right here. These are more of the Brunswick cabbage. Then I've got alyssum down in there for pest control. And this is also edible. And then violas for some color, also edible. So there she is. Let me go around the front. See how full and beautiful and productive? Look, you can really see the alyssum there now. So like I said, I hope you enjoyed the video. This is the spring high intensity bed, which most of my beds are planted this way. And then this is the transition from spring planting into early summer. So thanks again for hanging out with me today. I hope you guys have a very, very blessed day. If you try this, let me know down in the comments below, or you can tag me. I'm on Instagram. I have a Facebook page, and I would love to see your pictures, and I'd love to see how you're doing and what you have found by experimenting like this. So anyway, y'all have a blessed day, and I hope to see you in the next one.